This girl is very naughty. The father asked her to come over and say hello to this man. As a result, the girl took off her jacket to reveal her sexy body. Then, the man was very excited, but then the girl just extended her hand to shake hands with him. The man was very disappointed. The girl took a brisk pace and disappeared in front of the crowd. Except for her father, the other two men were really lucky today. The girl's name is Josie. She and her family don't get along. She was just trying to discuss her father. She had a big fight with her father again because of this incident. Josie decided to run away from home. She could have used the money to buy supplies, but she didn't. She went to the supermarket alone and put the panties on the shelf on her body. Her clothes were even more stuffed with small items she wanted to take. Then she deliberately waited until the supermarket was closed and prepared to rest here for the night. This seemingly ordinary game of adventure led her to meet a man who is similar to her. His name is Jim, and he is the most humble knight cleaner in the supermarket. The boss even locked him in the supermarket to make him finish his work on time. The supermarket door does not open automatically until 6 a.m. the next morning. Jim is actually quite rebellious, and he doesn't feel angry about it. He enjoys his solitude in the supermarket, but he didn't expect that there was a beautiful woman in the empty supermarket. At the moment they met, Jim stopped thinking, then he ran straight into the shelf. Because Josie's father is a famous local tycoon, Josie is the daughter of a wealthy man, and she is also beautiful, so she became the object of affection of the local young man. Jim wonders why Josie is still here after the supermarket has been closed for 5 hours. In the dressing room, Josie tells a stranger about her family for the first time. Her mother died young, and her father was a brutal authoritarian. Despite her family's wealth, Josie had never felt happy, but Jim was optimistic. He believes that happiness is everywhere, but Josie lacks the eyes to find it. Finally, Jim took Josie to the supermarket as a cafeteria. This was the beginning of their unique journey of happiness. In order to let Josie experience the meaning of unbridled happiness, Jim took Josie and treated the supermarket like a cafeteria and started shopping. They each took a new set of unopened tableware. Jim then took out the freshly heated chicken fillets from the microwave oven. They sat on tables and chairs with price tags all over them. A homemade restaurant was created. Jim, who has loved to talk since he was a kid, makes no secret of his former fondness for Josie. Josie appreciated the honesty of the man in front of her. Every second she spent with him, she was breaking her perceptions of many things. But the truth is that Jim also has a bad past. He was always teased as a child because of his family's poor background. When he grew up, he never had a good job. In the eyes of others, Jim is a complete loser. But these two people, who have nothing in common in any way, spend only 2 hours together and they have a crush on each other. Josie danced happily to the music. She even asked Jim through the radio room, "Will you take me back to your family and get me out of here?" Mom, Jim was a little overwhelmed by the sudden dream come true. He always thought they were from two different worlds. Josie was so wonderful and beautiful. She had a rich father. Wherever she goes, she can live a carefree life. Jim felt that he was not good enough for Josie. At that moment, Josie took out a total of $50,000 in cash. It was the first time in his life that Jim saw so much money. In the end, Jim said yes to Josie. He decided to take Josie out of the town at dawn. They walked onto the dance floor hand in hand to the sound of soft music. Josie promised Jim that she would thank him in her own way. With Jim leading the way, Josie, who was always melancholy, felt happier than ever. They wore skates and walked through the huge supermarket. They laughed and laughed all over the supermarket. But while they were skating happily, hand in hand, two criminals with guns suddenly appeared in front of them. They didn't have time to stop and crashed straight into them. The shelves collapsed and the two thugs fell down. Jim and Josie looked back. The thugs, who were so vicious a second before, had fallen unconscious. They looked at each other and fled as fast as they could. After turning off the power of the supermarket, they hid under a bench in the bathroom. Soon, the thugs came looking for them. When the men craned their necks to look in the door, they were so scared they didn't move. It wasn't until the robber left that Jim dared to withdraw his hand, which had almost been stepped on. Thinking the thugs had left, they stepped out carefully. Unfortunately, they were still discovered by the robbers. Jim had a bright idea. He claimed he was in the middle of a $60 million contraband deal. Next to him was Josie, who was his hostage to get through customs later on. In 5 minutes, someone would come to make a deal with him. The two thugs didn't believe Jim. They also said they wanted to take care of Josie first, who is no longer useful to them. Seeing that Josie was in danger, Jim got up immediately. He carried the radio as a walkie-talkie and pretended to call the police. The two idiot thugs were terrified. They took Josie as a hostage and were always on alert. After Jim's nonsense, they really thought they had Jim's help, so they obediently dropped their guns. Jim immediately shielded Josie behind him and picked up the gun on the ground. The two thugs were completely fooled by Jim. However, just as Jim was being held by Josie, but the thugs told him that the gun was not loaded, their smiles instantly disappeared, and they hurriedly returned the gun. Jim also did not forget to please them, to help them hot snacks to eat. But I lied. After enjoying Josie's rocking horse performance, the two thugs immediately decided to take her and run away. Then they quickly ransacked the supermarket of all the valuable items. Jim became agitated the moment he met Josie. He immediately understood Josie's plan. She was looking for a chance to get out. Without Jim to stop them, the robbers moved the looted items to the car one by one, but Josie found an opportunity to get inside the car. She stepped on the gas and drove off into the night. At the same time, Jim was also preparing weapons to meet the fight. Sure enough, the robbers came back to beat Jim. Only this time Jim had a weapon. Faced with a gun, the thugs completely surrendered. After that, Josie appeared in front of the supermarket as promised. When the police received a report and arrived at the supermarket, they only saw the two tied up in knots. Josie and Jim had already left the town and started a new life together.